Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. So I am also opposed to this bill, and this is one of the enjoyable times when John Simmons and I see something the same way. I want to start by saying this is a 9-figure financial transaction. Let's focus on that. The core idea of this is that it's going to shore up Providence's finances and pension funds obligations, and it is going to the tune of 9 figures. That 9 figures is going to be financed somehow. There's going to be some kind of debt-like agreement, and the debt payments are ultimately going to be the responsibility of the ratepayers. So the ratepayers are going to end up paying that 9-figure cost plus interest. Now, I know there's a concern about that because the ratepayers, in effect, already paid to build up the Providence Water System to where it is now, so they're paying twice. That's a serious concern. But even if we put that aside for the moment, the idea is we're going to raise that 9 figures somehow. There's going to be some kind of borrowing deal, and this bill is extremely vague about how that borrowing is going to work. I'm looking at this and I'm wondering, what's the interest rate going to be? What are the financing costs going to be like? I see all sorts of opportunities for exploitation here. If you want to do this efficiently, you want to get the cheapest interest rate, then this should be a general obligation bond. That's the cheapest interest rate, and that's the best deal you can get. Or perhaps maybe next best, you could go to the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. But since this is very vague about how the financing is going to work, I'm worried about the financing being done in a way that may help some people, may help some well-connected people, and it comes with more financing costs than you need to have. This bill, this very short bill, is just no way to address a 9-figure financing deal. In fact, it cuts out the PUC, not only cuts out the PUC from rejecting the financing proposal, but even cuts out the PUC from reviewing the financing proposal. And for that reason alone, I think this is just a terrible way of doing this. This bill is actually not getting better. The bill we had a month ago, 2803, in the Environment Committee that had some flaws, but this bill, the new bill, cuts out the PUC to an even greater extent. The bill is we heard this guarantee that it's not going to go up in the next 5 years by any higher than the last 5 years, but they exempt the financing costs from that. So this bill that we have now, the bill for today, says that that the next 5 years rate increases can't be more than the last 5 years, except as needed to deal with the financing. So it's really terrible that there's no oversight of financing in this, of course, we also have to take into account the fact that the Providence Water System has a big liability in the form of the lead pipes. If you're going to revamp the whole system and refinance things, this would be a good opportunity to think about how we're going to finance replacing the lead pipes to improve our children's health. But the bill completely ignores that issue. So I see how the city of Providence the city government has an incentive to get the purchase price as high as possible, the 9 figures, but who's looking out for the ratepayers and keeping that financing cost low? I don't think anybody is. So the other problem with this is that we're openly contemplating going to a lease or operations management agreement where some private company would take a large share of the management of this. And I understand part of the deal is a merger between Providence Water and the Narragansett Bay Authority, but the bill also explicitly talks about bringing in possibly other private operators, maybe like Suez, which is a private operator in South Kingstown, Narragansett, or you could get some out-of-state company to bid on it with what the mayor called a lease or an operations management agreement. Suez isn't even local; they're owned by a French company. If you bring in a private company as part of this deal to manage the system, the promise is going to be that the private company is going to save money by economies of scale because they run a lot of other things elsewhere. So it's going to save money, and that's going to be passed on to ratepayers. Again, my concern is who's looking out for the ratepayers and the health of Rhode Islanders, because a lot of these contracts in other places like Flint have gone really bad. The company does end up saving some money, but they save money by cutting corners. And who's looking out for water quality? I'm worried about that. Does the Department of Health have jurisdiction? Does the PUC have jurisdiction? Well, actually, they cut out the PUC. It's not clear the PUC will have jurisdiction over something that's just a leaseholder or an operations management company. So places like Flint, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Indianapolis, these private management deals, deals for a private management company to manage the water system have turned out not very well because the private management company isn't regulated as a utility. It's Providence Water, or the merger of Providence Water and the Narragansett Bay Commission, that's the utility, but the private management company may not be fully under the jurisdiction of the PUC. And some places like Atlanta have ended up paying a high termination fee to terminate these kind of contracts when they don't work out well. So I'd be very concerned, how is this going to be structured? Are we going to be able to get out of this if it doesn't work well? Who's looking over the health consequences? In this 4-page piece of legislation, there's no addressing any of these issues. So I'm really opposed to this. I think it doesn't. I think it's going to lead to a lot of potential ripoffs. It may raise money for Providence, but it's not making sure it's done in a financially prudent way or a way that's good for Rhode Islanders' health. So I'm opposed to this. Thanks.
Thank you. Senator Metz.
Well, not a question, just a statement, because I'm surprised about singing the praises of the PUC, because most times when I hear it, it's people getting their electricity and their heat turned off in the wintertime, and the PUC, people that advocate for poor people have the opposite view of them. So I recognize that they have a role, but I'm just surprised everybody's singing their praises because a lot of poor people don't. And I just wanted to bring that up because I don't have the greatest confidence in them either based on my interaction with them over the years. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Senator.
I do understand that. I have heard very similar concerns from many people, but all I'm saying is that some PUC is better than no PUC whatsoever. Certainly the PUC needs work, and I support your efforts in that, Senator. Thank you.
Thank you.